You're listening to Siris Says podcast. Join us as we transcend cultural barriers and elevate diverse voices. Here, we inspire, inform, and empower one story at a time. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Siris Says. Today, I have Bea Magalhães. She's a UX designer and she's also multicultural. She's actually from a country right next door to where I'm from. So yeah, welcome, Bea.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. It's so exciting. We're actually, fun fact, we're neighbors. So yeah, we found each other in the Bay Area, which is awesome. So yeah, how are you feeling? Because we both kind of came into the US. So how do you feel nowadays being here? Yeah.
I know, and I just want to comment, I feel so lucky that we just by chance are neighbors,
I know.
What are the odds?
It's pretty crazy because I'm from Venezuela and you're from Brazil. Like, we're neighbors in
I
South
know.
America. So pretty unheard of.
I know, and I knew when I got here, a lot of people told me it was going to be really hard to, build a community and find people. And it was, but in some aspects, I feel like I was just so lucky, just instantly connected to another awesome, badass South American girl, my age.
Thank
so
you.
cool.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So have you always lived here? So you came straight from Brazil to the Bay Area?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, or like people say in America, Rio. Nobody recognizes what it means if I say it like we would say it back home, but in Brazil, and I was there for most of my life, and I moved here in 2019, 6 months before the pandemic.
Oh my God, yes. I remember you mentioning about it, and I can imagine it was probably rough.
Yeah, it was crazy. I lived in the US for a brief period before when I was 8. So my dad got transferred to the East Coast, actually, Connecticut. And he brought me and my mom, and that's how I learned English, which was super nice because when you're 8, your brain's like a little sponge. So I just soaked a lot of it up.
That's awesome.
And then, when we came back to Brazil, my parents did a great job, making sure that I practiced. I could only watch TV in English. I could only read in English, English classes multiple times a week. So I kept it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I also don't have a very strong accent. I have a weird accent. People have a hard time placing where it's from because
You're pretty natural. I mean, I have an accent and it's never left me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you sound pretty smooth.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of it was work, but it was also because I came here when I was 8, and I think before 10 is when you don't get as much of the accent. But I think when I moved, that also meant people kind of thought I was from here, and then I would say weird stuff, and they'd be like, "Why are you saying that?" And I'm I don't know, isn't it normal? I don't know, just translating Brazilians' expressions directly to English. Or...
Can people tell where you're from by looking at you? No, huh?
No.
Yeah.
I think Brazilians are also kind of hard because we're such a diverse people. We have immigrants from all over the world. Fun fact, it's actually one of the most valuable passports to rob because Brazilians can look like anything. So it's a very sought after passport.
That's such a funny thing to mention. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah, so people don't really know. And Portuguese isn't super common either. Brazil's a very large country, so obviously there's a lot of Portuguese speakers. But other than that, there's Portugal, there's some countries in Africa, like Angola and Cape Verde. Wow. So it's not a language that you hear a lot, so people hear it and they're confused. What is this?
It's definitely mixed. Yeah, we have a pretty big diversity of people in Venezuela as well. So yeah, it's very interesting that I was able to meet you here, you being from there. And so you came right before the pandemic, and ever since a lot of things happened for you. But obviously I know you personally, but I want the audience to know your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think since a young age, I kind of knew that I wanted to be a creative professional. That was my dream. It changed over time. When I was 12, my dream was to be an animator in Disney Pixar.
Aww.
And that kind of guided a lot of my career choices. There's no animation in Brazil. I mean, there is. That's totally unfair. But at the time that I was going to college, it was a very small market. And so, it's not like America, where America's had, proper animation schools for a really long time. When I went to college, that wasn't really a thing. Yeah. So I looked for the closest thing that I could find. And that was a course called Digital Media Design. That was in, a university near me. So I was that it kind of connects. There are things in common. I'm going to use this as a jumping off point to get to animation. And then when I got there, I just saw a bunch of other things that I had no idea even existed. And it just opened, my range of things. And I grew up going to a very strict Catholic school, like where the only choices were being a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. Like if you're doing anything else, you're a bum and you will starve. So when I got to college, I was so terrified. Like I remember this chemistry teacher that I had, and he was going through each student and reading their major out loud, and he got to me and he said like, "Oh, digital media design," and he literally went like.
He laughed?
He laughed.
Oh
he was
God.
like...
Little did he know.
Yeah, I know.
Where you ended up, okay.
But I kind of credit him with my success because I was like so nervous. Like I got to college and I was like, oh my God, I need to get a job right away. Otherwise, I'm going to be a starving artist on the street, just like my chemistry teacher said.
So it drove you?
It drove me.
Wow.
And I started looking for jobs since like day one of college, basically.
That's
and I tried for a bunch of stuff and like I had no experience, so nobody would take me. And then there was this program that at the time was called Brazil Education Program for iOS Development. And it was like an internship to code and stuff, and it seemed cool, and it said like no experience required, so I signed up.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be an Apple-sponsored thing.
Oh my goodness.
But nobody knew about it at the time.
But that's awesome.
Yeah. No, so that changed everything because I got in and I, learned how to code and learned app development and app design and UX design, and I was like, this is awesome. This is really interesting, and I think this is my new dream. Like, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, everything just started to unfold and click in ways that basically you still liked it. It wasn't exactly what you were looking for in the beginning, but then it sort of all connected. So that was great that you chose that.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And it's really hard to get a job, like, when you have no experience.
Yeah, going from 0 to 1 is like
I think
so
I applied
hard.
to Starbucks out here when I graduated because I went to I finished high school here, and like it's rough, man.
Yeah.
I even put my application to clean cars. Like that's how determined I was.
Hell yeah.
They wouldn't let you. No, girls, they don't let you.
They don't let you, really?
I don't think so. I've never seen a car wash where they have ladies cleaning.
I think
cars,
I think I have, but I think you're right. It was like I've seen
pretty rare.
1 or 2 girls like
you have?
in life.
I have never seen one. And I remember when I put my application, they looked at me like
what are you doing?
What? Like I can see you in the register, but like cleaning the cars.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm willing to.
Why not?
Work. Yeah. Either way, it never happened, and yeah, but it's just like the drive, when you have that drive to get experience.
It's important, and I think it's kind of the immigrant power. It's like that. Yeah. You have to fight for it because no one's gonna give it to you for free.
Yeah.
I think that's what was it for me. That's what brought me here was a combination of like hard work and luck. I mean, both luck of like being in the right time in the right place, and also like having parents that could guide me through all the things that were happening and say like, hey, that's really good, or maybe don't go that way, or pay attention to this, pay attention to that.
Did it help the fact that your dad had also worked out here? Like navigating like what to expect in the corporate world out here?
Kind of, yeah. I think it was, the language was huge because English is semi-common in Brazil, I would say. Like there's a lot of people that speak English, maybe not in the street. Like if you go and talk to someone in a store, they might not, but most of my friends speak very good English.
That's awesome.
But I feel like I was a lot more comfortable with it than other people were just because of that previous life experience that I had in Connecticut.
Absolutely.
So like when I got into this internship, we had all these presentations, and that was something that I always put a lot of effort in was communicating and presentations, and then I could do it in English also. So I think that was like a big deal. And then things just started happening and I didn't really plan for them. Like Apple has this contest every year for a conference called the Worldwide Developers Conference. At the time, it was a student scholarship, and you could get a ticket to go to the conference that was usually really, really expensive. Like, I could never afford that ticket. And, you could talk to all these engineers, and they'd have all these special stuff for the students. And it was a coding competition. And at that point, I had, just joined the internship. I had been there for 4 months. And I was like, I'm never going to get it. Like, I just started learning how to code. But whatever, I'm going to try. Yeah. And I, studied super hard and I worked on my project for a long time and I didn't sleep for weeks. And then I got it.
Wow.
And I came here for the first time to California, to San Francisco for the conference. And it was like mind-blowing. I got to meet all these people. I got a selfie with Tim Cook.
Ooh.
BuzzFeed did an interview with me about like being a girl in code.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was like a game changer. And I was like, wow, I didn't know this was possible, you know?
But I mean, you tried really hard. Like, I think your dedication, sure, like, it paid off. Like, it didn't come to you easy, per se. Yeah. The opportunities were kind of mind-blowing, but you definitely put in the work. And I think that's a testament to how far you got.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot.
Yeah. So you went to that conference, and then did you knew in that point, hey, I want to come back here? Like the seed got planted. I could imagine. Like, you come here, you meet all these amazing people, you get inspired, and then you think, do you feel like this is a place I want to,
For sure. Okay. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced, and everyone was super passionate and was working on these super exciting apps, and all of the Apple people that I interacted with were just so wonderful that I was like, I want to work there. And then there was that little seed, you know, like the dream shifted from like Disney animator to I want to be a designer at Apple. And I got obsessed with that, and I started shifting all my goals towards that.
Okay.
And that's the advice I always give to people is like, what I did was I went to the jobs website and I looked at the jobs that they had that I was interested in for design, and I tried to reverse engineer it. Like, I looked at the skills and I was like, okay, what's missing between like my skills now and the skills that they're listing here? And I focused everything on like trying to fill that list. So it was like taking classes in college, working on personal app projects, trying to like build that list from the ground up. And then I realized how important connections were, and the contest became like a really important thing to me. So I started applying every year, and I won the 2 consecutive years after that. So I won 3 times.
Oh my God, Bea. Okay, Bea. She's like, I did it once, I can do this again.
I was like not expecting to, but it kept happening, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this my everything every year. And other amazing things happened. Like, I finished the internship. It was only a year long. And that changes over time. Like, now I think it's all different.
Okay.
And the contest is different as well. Now it's called the Swift Student Challenge, I think.
Okay. But it's still out there.
It's still out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's still a thing.
That's good to hear, because like anybody who's out there still in college, like giving them this tip is really great. That's awesome.
So recommend it. It's a phenomenal opportunity, and coming here, meeting with the engineers, and you get like special treatment. Like, of course, they treat the students so well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of adorable now that I think about it, like us now in our careers, right? When you see somebody younger, instinctively I've always feel like I want to give them tips and things like, hey, you can get here, because I mean, I didn't have it super easy, but there's like so many things that you can like, you know, that it will help to smooth out their process, so you try to like help them.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually totally ties into like what happened next, which was I got invited after I graduated the internship program to be a design mentor in it. So that was really unexpected for me. I never thought I'd be a teacher that young.
Right, like you have to switch the hat now. Like, were you excited about it, or were you like, oh, I don't know what to do about it?
Both. I knew it was like a good opportunity, but I was also like, I'm 22 years old.
You're like, wait a minute, like, I've done these amazing things, but like realistically, I'm still figuring it out myself.
Yeah,
right?
like I haven't worked in corporate. Like, there's a ton of things that I haven't done. Like, am I fit to being a teacher here? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll just figure it out. And it was awesome. I mean, I think it was really good for me. The best way to learn something is to teach, to be honest with you, because you have to really think about the principles and how you talk about them, and that gives you a really deep understanding of these things. And it was so much fun. Like, working with the students was like so, I don't know, magical. Like, when people come in and they're all excited and they come up with these incredible ideas that you wouldn't have thought of, and you can help them get there and help them get the scholarship or do whatever it is that they want to do. So that was really, really special, a really special and fun time. But I was still kind of in the back of my mind, like, I still want to work at Apple. This is an intermediary step for me. So I kept like working on my skills and applying for jobs. I thought about quitting college halfway at one point. I'm like, maybe I should just go. I should just go and try to work there now. But one of my managers, that I didn't know he was going to be my manager eventually, but I met him and I told him I was interested in a job in one of these conferences. And I told him I would quit college, and he's like, no, you're not doing that.
Oh, he like talked some sense into you.
Yeah, he talked some sense into me.
Like I could see how hungry you are, but he was like, this is important for you to finalize this.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful to him for doing that for me, because it was important to graduate. And I really appreciate my education. Like, I went to a school called Pontifical Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro.
What is the name in Brazil?
Pontifícia Universidade Católica do Rio de Janeiro.
How long can it be? It is very long, yo.
Everyone just calls it PUC-Rio.
It's PUC-Rio. Yeah. It's like a short acronym.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But looking back, I'm like, that was such a fucking good design education, you know? Like, it's very project focused. It's very finding problems in the real world and solving them, and group projects, which is so important, like learning to work with other people.
I think, yeah. I mean, I was able to work on group project for the first time, mostly in my master program.
Yeah.
But I've always been good with groups.
Yeah.
It's actually my favorite part because I'm a talker.
Yeah.
I'm a talker, and I like working with different people, like dynamics too. Even difficult people, I find it like a challenge of like, how can I shift them in a way that they're productive?
Yeah.
Because I did that in high school in a drama class.
Oh.
I had the worst students in my group, and we got the highest grade.
Oh.
And I was the director of the group.
Oh my God.
And I remember the guy, like, it really touched me because his most memorable thing about the class was working with me in my group, because I was just able to understand, like, yeah, he's maybe not a good student, but maybe he's just more of a trouble kid, and he just needs somebody who believes in him for the first time. And I truly bug him. I'm like, come on, how many lines do you study today? And like, he would like get excited and learn. And I think it's so touching to touch people in those ways, you know, when you work in group.
I'm gonna cry. That's beautiful.
What I remember that I can lead.
And that's like natural born skill of yours. It sounds like, and that's really rare. Like, honestly, it didn't come naturally for me. It was something that I learned over time.
You were an only child.
Yeah, I am. I think at first, like, it was easier for me to say, like, I'll just do the whole thing myself. You know, that was my instinct to just like try and take over. And then when I started getting into the app stuff, like, you can't. Like, you need a lot of people working on it, and you're not going to go as far alone. Like, you're just not. And so that taught me a lot in working together, and like you said, like getting the best out of each person, and also letting another person get the best out of you, and like being open to getting that feedback and saying like, yeah, I do need to shut the fuck up sometimes.
So would you say UX design, you have to be able to work with groups?
Oh my God,
For sure. Like, anybody who is contemplating going into that career path, they have to think about that. Like, this is something that's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah. When I was early in career, I thought that I was going to spend like 90% of my time like moving pixels around and drawing, and then I would show up with this perfect design and everybody would clap and we would implement it and we would make millions of dollars, and that was kind of my idea of it, you know? And then I realized that it's like 20% designing, 60% talking to people and getting people's inputs and letting that affect your design, and 20% presenting or like going back to the drawing board. It's a lot of communicating with people. And a lot of the time, like, I'm not necessarily an expert in what I'm designing, and nor should I. Like, as a designer, you have to like remember that you're not the main user for whatever it is that you're designing for. You have to empathize with who your users actually are. So you have to have a beginner's mindset. You have to ask questions. You have to be curious. You have to challenge your biases and your assumptions.
That's important.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't actually know anything about UX designer until my most recent job that I did, that I was able to explore it because our website was so awful. And I'm like that user that's like, get annoyed if I can find point A to point C or whatever, like if it's not smooth, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know? But it's pretty complex. It's not that easy.
It's super complex.
And like you said, you do have to work with a lot of people for sure.
I think people have the perception, and a lot of organizations do that too, where it's like, oh, you bring design in at the end to make it pretty.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's essentially what happened to them.
That's not how it should be.
Which makes sense why it was a mess to begin with. Yeah,
exactly.
Because you kind of do the structure part of it.
Yeah.
Would you say? Like
it's design. There's a quote, I forget who it's from, but design isn't how it looks, it's how it works. So it's like, what problem are you trying to solve? Who is your user? What are they trying to accomplish? When are they trying to accomplish it? How fast do they need to accomplish it? Are they using an app when you're driving and you can't pay full attention to the app? You have to make split-second decisions, or is it an app that you're using for bank stuff where you have to make extra sure that the decision that you're making or the action that you're taking is the right thing? Like, can you imagine accidentally transferring money to the wrong person or doing whatever?
That would be catastrophic. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you ended up graduating, and then right away you apply.
Actually, before I graduated, the last conference that I went to, I actually went as a teacher this time, and my boss paid for me to go, which was super nice, and just be with the students and learn stuff to bring back to our program. And there I met someone who invited me to do another interview at the event. It was like a women's panel, like women in coding. And while she was interviewing me, she was like, have you ever thought about working for Apple? And I was like, yes. And that turned into an interview, and then I was hired.
Oh, so they seek you.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a mix of like me asking around, and then they just asked me if I was open to it, and I was like, yeah, please.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then I worked remotely actually from Brazil for the first 8 months of my job, waiting for my work visa to come out because, I was in Brazil. I didn't have any kind of visa to come here.
Okay.
And then I moved in October 2019.
Yeah, right before the pandemic. Right before our world was gonna go upside down, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, you got your dream job.
I got it. Yeah, exactly.
Something was working out for you.
Yeah, I was convinced the pandemic was my fault for a while because I was so excited to be here. And I was so sick of working remotely because I was like, I don't want to be here. I want to be there. I want to be in person with my team. I want to meet them. I want to start my life. So I actually said the words out loud, I never want to work remotely again. And then the pandemic happened, and I worked remote for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you moved.
I moved,
at that point.
Which is crazy. I got for those of you who don't know, the work visa in America, you get in a lottery to get the visa. So I think there's a 30% chance that you get it.
Oh, even if they're sponsoring you?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You still have a 30% chance. If you have a master's, then you get a better shot. But I didn't have a master's. Yeah, so I got it my first time, which, again, super lucky because I just think of the chain of events that happened because I got the visa. I might not have met my husband because...
She's married.
Yeah, I'm married. Because I would probably only have been able to move here in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
So that's a long time. A lot of stuff could have happened.
Could happen, yeah.
So I'm like, thank you, visa gods. It was hard being here, but I think it was good.
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah.
I'm glad everything worked out.
Me too. Maybe we wouldn't have met.
I mean, yeah,
who knows?
You never know the change of events. Again, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, originally I'm from South Cal, so I moved here really because of my significant other, and that's how we are neighbors. But if that wouldn't have happened, I never would have met you. It's just the butterfly effect. I like to call it. You do one thing and it leads to the next thing, and then
I believe in the invisible string thing. And Tom and I have a lot of my husband, really weird life coincidences. We were almost at the same place at the same time, I was going to the Apple conference and he was working down the street.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's like a drama, like a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Exactly.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a short pause and then we'll be right back, guys.
Today's episode is sponsored by RenovateMagicHub.com, your guide to transforming your home. Whether you're updating a room or planning a full makeover, Renovate Magic Hub provides tailored product suggestions to suit your style and budget. Visit renovatemagichub.com for inspiring and practical tips to create a space you'll love.
Welcome back to Siris Says from the sponsor. Switching a little gears into your personal experience, because obviously you're an immigrant. I was an immigrant coming into this country. Do you think everything that you expected happened? Or were you surprised by some of the American things, when you came?
Oh, I was definitely surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that just the cultural expression is different, like how people express affection and love. And I think California is also a special case because there's just so many people from everywhere. It's this big melting pot, which is awesome, but it can also be a little confusing, if you're...
True.
I mean, Rio is just... I'd say Rio is kind of a bubble. Like, there are people from all over the world, but more in the tourist space, and a lot of immigrants have been there for a really long time. So the culture is like very defined and distinct.
Yes.
And then you come here and it's like a little bit of everything, you know? So like, for example, something that always comes to mind is like birthdays. Like, that was a huge culture shock for me.
Really?
I planned a little happy birthday surprise for one of my best friends at work. And I talked to everybody. It was like, I'm going to bring a cake into the break room. Let's everybody meet in the break room. And then we sing happy birthday.
That's why we do the same. It's like a big kind of event. We celebrate
big. Yes. And when you sing happy birthday, like how I would sing happy birthday in Portuguese, it's a similar song, but obviously in Portuguese. And you clap. So you're like, parabéns pra você.
Oh, wow.
And so I came in and everybody was there. And I was like, surprise! Happy birthday to you. And everybody was like, happy birthday.
Yeah, like the typical. But you didn't know.
And everybody was looking at me kind of funny, like, why are you being so loud and making all of this noise?
Like culture shock. You were like, oh, I brought too much seasoning into this place. Okay, my bad.
Oh my God. I literally had to train myself so much to lower the volume of my voice. Because I just talk so loud.
Like even in English?
Yeah.
Oh.
I used to talk so loud. And people have come up to me and said this many times. Like, I could hear your laughter from like 3 streets over. That's how loud you are.
Oh my God.
And here people speak so like low and polite. Restaurants are quiet. And I hear a lot of criticism like from Europeans. Like, oh, you know that they're American because they come in and they're super loud. I'm like, you haven't seen Brazilians, dog. Like... That was a huge culture shock. But, like, affection is expressed in different ways, right? Like, we bring a lot of excitement and joy to parties and stuff, but, like, Americans will write you these beautiful cards. Like, every birthday you get this beautiful hand-picked card with, like, a meaningful drawing on it that was based on you and a beautifully wrapped gift. My friends don't give me gifts, like in Brazil, for the most part. You know, people just show up to the party and then they party with you, but it's not as normal to bring gifts, you know?
Yeah. I think in Venezuela it's the same. Like, you cherish more of, like, the time being together rather than the formality, per se. Or, like, they will bring like drinks or like a dessert or something they make. Yeah, I feel you.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So it's like both are affectionate, just in different ways, you know?
Okay, well, another fun question, because you marry an American man.
Yeah. I met him on a dating app. Peak pandemic.
Oh, I know, one of the few people that worked out.
Yeah, it worked. It's possible. True love is
Didn't
out
work
there.
for me at all.
And we just clicked right away. It was really just so easy.
Yeah. So then you met him, and now obviously you're married. So other than that, your family's still there.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you deal with when you have that long distance? Like, what had worked for you? Perhaps for new people that are coming just to America and they're trying to build their life, but then they're still really missing their family. Like, what worked for you, you know?
You know, it's really hard because, like, I'm super close with my parents and my grandma and my uncles. So it's like, it's hard and it hits me all the time. And sometimes I just let myself be sad, you know, and I think that's okay. Like, you have to let yourself feel what you want to feel. But I just try to integrate them in little ways every day. Sometimes I'll cook something and I'll send a picture of it to my grandma because she taught me the recipe. Or it's my routine with my parents. Like, every time I drive to work, I call them. So I call them when I go and when I come back. So I call them like 6 times a week, which is a lot. And a lot of people are like...
Props to you, yeah. You talk to
like,
them
girl, you're crazy. Like, how are you talking to your parents that much?
Aww.
But that's just the kind of relationship that we have. We just like talking. And then it doesn't feel like such a big deal, you know, because you're in touch a lot. So it doesn't feel like you're missing out as much. Yeah. And I'm also just really lucky that my job lets me work remotely for a whole month a year.
That's
so
awesome,
we just go down to Brazil for 1 or 2 months out of the year and just work from there. And that's really special and has helped Tom kind of get the feel for my culture too.
And learn and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he loves it. He's taking Portuguese classes, which is like super important to me and really meaningful. So yeah, and I feel like we get the best of both worlds. We get to vacation and party there and then come here and work and, you know.
That's awesome. Do you feel like you're living your American dream?
Oh my goodness. That's a big question.
It has shifted over time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people look at it at the point of view of economy or the point of view of immigration, so many things. But do you think for Bea, you know, living your American dream?
I think for sure. I think young Bea would have been proud of me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Proud moment. Okay, awesome. Well, you know, in my podcast, I always ask the question of the previous guest, and then you're going to leave your question.
Ooh.
So the previous guest question was, what are you doing every day to foster the well-being of humanity?
Oh my gosh.
It's a pretty big one.
That's a big one. That's a serious question.
I know.
I just think about my journey a lot, and I'm so grateful for all the people who helped me, and they were really important, whether it was like mentors or managers that helped me along the way, or people that were willing to have a conversation with me. So I just try to pass it on, you know. I still have a lot of connections to those programs, and I try to talk to students whenever I can, or help people with their careers and help them come live their American dream if they want to. I'm just like my own little personal DI program sometimes.
I love that. Yeah. Like you're fostering essentially like this happened to me and so can you type of thing. I love that. Yeah. That's great. So I'll be your question for the next guest.
I was thinking when I say I'm a creative, a lot of people say like, oh, I could never do what you do. I'm not creative at all because they see creativity as like drawing or painting or playing music or filming a podcast or whatever it is. But I think creativity is solving problems in your everyday, and it can manifest itself in the meals that you cook or the activities that you come up with for your kids. So my question for you is, how are you creative in your life?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, Bea, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn if you want. I try to share opportunities there when stuff comes up. So, you know, a lot of tech jobs and things like that. So my handle is Beatriz, Beatriz 3M. So you can find me there. Bea Magalhães. My handle is probably easier.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and link it and I'll put it on the video if you guys want to follow her and reach out through there. Well, it has been a pleasure having you, Bea. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for sharing with us like what a UX designer is like and also just the fact that you came from Brazil. And
thank you so much. This was so much fun.
All right, guys. Well, until next time. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Siris Says. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and drop a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep chasing those dreams.